lluvia, qué rico. The rain falling all around me. Pa, 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 pa. I look up to the gray sky. The salty water blesses my freckled face. I do a little twirl and run down the street barefoot, leaving the chamacos behind. I turn the corner and I bounce up the one step to that bright Tiffany blue home angled on the corner of Ferrer y San Elias, El Cerro, Habana, Cuba. Inside, I see her dark skin glowing in the shadows of the kitchen, her bodacious curves sashaying in her red flowy skirt. I run up to her, embrace her knees, look up and say, Mima, yo quiero un cafecito. I am Anyelis de la Cordero P.O.P, the youngest daughter of Franci de la Caridad P.O.P Fernandez, the oldest daughter of el Dr. José Chino P.O.P y María Caridad Fernandez, also known as Cuca, the neighborhood seamstress, who raised 5 children on her own after El Chino passed. We know her as Mima. Being the youngest child and the youngest grandchild by many years meant that I was everyone's favorite. Even my mom's friends deemed me gotica de gente, a little drop of a human. In Cuba, as a child, surrounded by my family and our community, I felt protected and free to be lighthearted, curious, audacious. One night, my entire family gathered, and we went to El Rio Cristal, the fancy restaurant with the bright blue pool in the middle that beamed its blue light into the starry sky. I thought it was a celebration, my entire family all together. Until I look over at him, Jose Alberto, Kiko, everyone's hero, the neighborhood tough guy, 16 years old, my hero, my older brother. His face was like a waterfall. I was 4 years old, and I knew then that my life, as I had known it, and my freedom was gone. A few hours later, my mom and I alone walked down the tarmac, and then Gustavo, her arranged husband, who's a political refugee, joins us. We get on a plane, and 90 miles later, we arrive in Miami. We get off the plane, and Gustavo goes into a tiny corner, picks up a beige phone, and says, Tia, llegamos a la Yuma. We're in the US of A. 6 months later, my mom leaves Gustavo. We get on another plane, now to the Big Apple, La Bergen Line, Union City, New Jersey. Fast cars, big buildings, crowds of people, not all Cuban. Chaos. In this new world, without our family, without community, my mom did what any tiger mama would do. She sheltered me. And the survival mode conditioning began. Go to school, learn English, go to karate, not ballet. You can only rollerblade from this end of the block to that end of the block. Do not go around the corner. You can hang out with Janice and Magda and Patty, but stay away from that Jacqueline. That survival mode conditioning led me to a gifted and talented middle school, to graduating top of my class in high school, president of the history club, editor of the school newspaper, and then off on almost a full ride to a very expensive university in Madison, New Jersey. Yes, Drew University. Who would we be if our childlike curiosities had been given room to grow? this isn't it. This isn't it. You are meant to do more. This isn't it. The whispers were getting louder. Every night, I would lay in bed and I would get this unquenching feeling to go out for a run. Run, run, run really fast with no destination in mind. And every morning, I would wake up with that same angst. Ugh, it's Monday. Ugh, I can't wait for Friday. Friday, so that I could hang out with my roomie Jose and the girls, and we could have a Beyonce dance off in our living room apartment in that kick-ass place in Jersey City. Or Saturday night when I could go into the city and to the salsa clubs to have drinks with Pedro and Crystal. Or Sunday night when we could host our themed book and brunch. I was living my best 20-something-year-old life. Or so everybody thought. I was 26 years old, 4 years out of that critical college degree, working in a nonprofit organization that hired me, my first job out of college, making $40,000 a year, the most my mom had ever made, doing work that was supposed to be meaningful and impactful, working with immigrant women like my mother. But I felt incomplete. I wasn't growing personally or professionally. Not to mention the fact that I was broke. I was living paycheck to paycheck. I was helping my mother pay her rent. I wasn't paying back my student loans in that 1-year failed stint at graduate school. I was so lost, so stuck, desperately unhappy, bottling it up, pushing through, faking it because that's the immigrant way. Then one day, June 2010, I got laid off of that first job out of college. And because education was the only thing I knew, the tool to get you from point A to point B, I enrolled in a 1-year graduate program to pursue a master's in HR management. I completed that master's in 1 year while collecting unemployment. I got a 3.9 GPA and I cried because it wasn't a 4.0. And after I graduated, my friends and family threw me this beautiful blue themed graduation party in that Jersey City apartment. And all of my best friends read a page from Dr. Seuss, All the Places You Will Go. And after that party, I took the first job that came my way. A low entry HR role that paid less than I was making in the nonprofit. But hey, it was a job. I just needed an in. So the place where I ended up going was this beautiful building in the waterfront. And I show up on day one in my pencil skirt, ready to go take on the world. Beautiful view of the New York skyline. And in that moment, I felt like that day when I was planted in the US of A for the first time. I spent the next 4 years learning to navigate corporate HR, feeling significantly underpaid and undervalued. How do we push through the fear of failure and trust the power of our potential? I turned the phone up to the ceiling for a moment to wipe the edges of my eyes. The tears stung. There we were again on a FaceTime call, simmering down after another argument, me barking at him, my boyfriend at the time, for the second time because he wasn't making enough time for our relationship. Instead, he was getting ready to launch his startup on my 35th birthday. I raised the phone to my face. Whatever happened to Versátil? Versátil was this coaching business idea that I had in my 20s, the first time we dated, when I had big dreams. Why don't you finally do it? Compete with me. My Cuban blood boiled hotter than a cafetera. The audacity of this man. I wanted to punch him in the face. Why, oh, why would I launch a side business? After 7 years of working in corporate HR, I had finally landed the dream job, making dream money on the dream team. Why would I compete with him? Well, it turns out our soulmates have a way of mirroring to us where there's still room to grow. I realized that up until that moment, I was still living in survival mode. Sure, it wasn't my mom's survival mode. I was no longer living paycheck to paycheck, but I was very much living a survival mode mindset, following the path that was set before me. Go to school, earn degrees, secure a steady job, find a man to marry, bear his children, save money for retirement, buy a home, retire, do all of the things, amass all of the firsts that make Mima and Mom's sacrifices worthwhile. But did I ever stop to ask myself if I was happy? Whose dream was I really living anyway? Whose timeline was I on? Life is too short to be stuck in survival mode. So what does it look like to work, lead, and live on purpose? After that conversation, I took time to reflect and tap into that potential, look again at those dreams I had had a long time ago. And an interesting thing happened. I popped. I finally launched the business that I had thought of years ago when I felt stuck and unhappy in my career and wished there was someone there to guide me through that process. So I created Propel on Purpose Coaching. So now I want to ask you all. Actually, I want you all to take a moment and stand up. Stand up, and I invite you to power pose in your superhero stance. And take a deep breath in. Take a deep breath in, and I invite you to close your eyes. Imagine that it's a random Tuesday. Not your typical Tuesday that you have nowadays, but this is your ideal Tuesday, the Tuesday of the life that you have always imagined for yourself. How are you starting your day? Take a moment to visualize that. Take another deep breath in, and I want you to fast forward to the middle of the day when you're doing the thing that you love doing that makes you feel in flow. I see some smiles. Yes, do that thing you love, be in flow. Now fast forward to the end of the day and think about how you're feeling, how you're reflecting. What are you grateful for? Take another deep breath in. I invite you to open up your eyes and unmute yourselves. We're going to break the internet or Zoom. Everybody unmute yourselves. And on the count of 3, I want you to be audacious enough to say the thing that you were doing that you love and it makes you feel in flow. It may be the thing you've never said to anyone else. On a count of 3, everybody unmute yourselves and let's say it. 1, 2, 3.
Facilitating.
Woohoo!
Helping others.
Congratulations, you have all popped. Now, what would it look like if you lived your life on purpose like this every single day? For me, that looks like this. I no longer have that angst in the pit of my stomach. I don't dread Mondays. I love Mondays. I still have that corporate job that I got 2.5 years ago. But it's the job that I love, not because of the title or because of the money. It's because the things that I do to empower the next generation of diverse leaders brings me so much meaning and joy. And I manage my business in parallel to that, because now I get to empower first-generation professionals who are stuck and unhappy and helping them shift out of that place of being stuck to a place of being aligned to purpose. I also get to serve as a mentor and on boards like Gaia and empower the next generation of first-generation students. I have finally come home to that lighthearted, curious, audacious little girl. Oprah has this amazing quote that I love. I know I've made it because happiness looks like my life. And although I am not a billionaire, I certainly feel happy deep down in my soul because I'm on pop mode. 2 weeks ago, I took Propel on Purpose to the next level, and I launched a podcast, Pop Gen, as a way to share the journeys of other first-gen professionals who work, lead, and live on purpose. The first episode was with my college best friend, Jennifer Biggers. The second episode was with my soul sister, Viviana Zambrano. And before we started in each episode, before we got to talk about our journeys and our evolution, I popped a bottle of champagne. And that felt like being a little girl running barefoot in the streets of Havana with the rain all around me. Pop, 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 pop. So, what would you do if you allowed that childlike curiosity to emerge? The world needs our gifts. The world needs your gifts. It needs your joy. The universe is calling you to be audacious. Audacious enough to push through that fear of failure, to tap into that power of your potential, to live your life in alignment with that vision. Because if you propel on purpose throughout your journey, you will continue to pop. Thank you.